Hello and welcome to MK Rants, a podcast where I, your host MK, take you on a wonderful journey of anime, manga, comics, and cartoons. Today's journey, Black Clover. As an anime nerd who watches hour or longer video documentaries about anime, I tend to see different opinions on shows I watch very often. However, when it comes to anime, such as Black Clover, the consensus is that it's amazing, or at least decent when it comes to shonen. Maybe it's my overconsumption of media, but I found the series mediocre after they finished the first big arc. My fatal flaw is the power of overthinking anything I don't like in a piece of media. So this is a result of my disappointment with the series. For the record, I really hope you go and watch my Yuno video, as this will have some influence here. For those of you who want a summary, it boils down to me stripping Yuno down to his basic form to make him more on par with Asta, or as on par you can get with someone who has no magic. The only difference is that in this video, is that I use the whole anime as a base for the rewrite, but in this context, yes, I'm using my points in that video, and I'm also just gonna imply it as a whole here, but parts 7 through 9 mean nothing here compared to the rewriting Yuno video. Also, I'm not here to make fun of the original work as a whole. I don't hate Black Clover, but I do have ideas on what could have been done better. Of course, here's your obligatory spoiler warning, so feel free to click off now if you don't want to see spoilers. See you next time. Now on to part 1, pacing. The pacing of this anime is not bad, but it does have the shonen touch of very long and drawn out battles. Very well animated battles, but this is very unnecessary to an extent. I think where we can apply it is the last battle, the battle against the devil. Why? We are stopping at the elf arc, because it is the longest arc, and it has the most build up to it and the most interlocking segments. Also, it's the best arc, and I feel like it's the natural end to the show. Also, if necessary, Asta and Yuno, if not together, for training, we'll have to split screen time equally, because if not, one of them is going to be left in the corner with off-screen development, and that is not a good thing. It's never a good thing. My one exception is this if they're in the middle of a battle. Why? Because it would be even worse pacing if they had to squeeze a whole battle into 3 episodes, including the setup for the fight. Part 2. Training arc and whatnot. Okay, so how do we incorporate all the other kingdoms in one series along with their lore in a natural and trope-filled way? A training arc. So we start off with the Spade Kingdom, then the Diamond Kingdom, and finally the Heart Kingdom. So we're going to start off with the rundown of what each kingdoms represent in Asta and Yuno's journey to become stronger along with the other members of each respective squad. Spade. This kingdom is very mechanical in its influence, so it will be on how battle can be read through movements and can be predicted. I didn't put an asterisk here, but I'm going to put it here. This, to an extent, I think this point right here, to an extent, applies to combat fighting. But if it's something like a supernatural force, then I don't think this teaching is here. Yes, it can be used against, say, when when a lot of people get taken over by elves. That knowledge would apply there, but when they're in their final battle against the devil, I don't think that the knowledge could technically apply there, as it's a sort of supernatural being, and thus its movements are technically unpredictable, as it could just stand there and summon all types of different magics from different types of worlds. My second point, it can also teach them how to use weapons, such as Asta's sword, because it is an extension of his body. As the Spade Kingdom, from what we can see, uses a lot of mechanical technology as well. They can, and I think they would also just be really good with weaponry. Thus the assistance in helping Asta understand his sword better and understand that it is an extension of himself. I think Yuno would be good with the staff, but I also think he could go without a weapon, as he does have the air spirit. We'll get to the spirits in a bit, but for now, we would also see how progressive the Spade Kingdom is compared to the Clover Kingdom, especially because the climate the Spade Kingdom is placed in, as it is a wintry, cold tundra sort of sentiment. So naturally, they would have to be super mechanical, and they would have to stay so organized, because if not, they couldn't freeze to death. They could freeze to death, as crops would be hard to grow, and as a whole, it doesn't sound like a pleasant experience, to live in a tundra. And because of this, because of this setting, I'm putting it first as a direct contrast to the Clover Kingdom's climate, as one, it would be really nice to see such a contrasting climate, Considering how the Clover Kingdom is very kind of like, it has rotating seasons, but I feel like the Spade Kingdom wouldn't have that. I think it would just be like eternal winter with like some variations of how quickly it snows. Then we would have the Diamond Kingdom. This goes second because its climate is the most similar to that of the Clover Kingdom, and thus will have this familiar aspect, but it will also feel different, and that would be emphasized by its militaristic forces. Alright, so this kingdom in the anime that we could tell is very strict in its ruling. So I think it's appropriate that this kingdom is going to teach them restraint, but it will also teach them militaristic tactics. Basically, it's going to teach them how to learn restraint and what magic and how to use their magic effectively in what scenarios and against which opponents. Its militaristic tactics, I guess, would just be group strategizing and whatnot, as I think that would be very beneficial, especially considering how disorganized certain squads are. Plus, it'll help the captains learn how to lead their squads in the most effective manner based on the way they currently lead their squads and their personalities based on what we can tell in the anime. The Heart Kingdom. Alright, so this kingdom's climate is a direct contrast to the Spades Kingdom, and it also is on the other end of the spectrum compared to the Clover Kingdom. Again, as it can be very neutral, but this one has very lush, and I feel like it would have an eternal spring sort of vibe. It wouldn't really have same seasons, but the season would be, I guess, differentiated by what kinds of fruits are in, I guess, season, thus making it, and because of this, I would put it on the last of the list. This kingdom will also teach expression and how to keep a constant, strong flow of magic or mana. This is necessary because they would also teach them how to naturally, make it stronger or pull it back a bit. This is, again, to contrast the Spade Kingdom, and I think that's a good reason why I put it last of the list. Plus, as an added bonus, we can learn a few new spells here, as they have much more freedom over their mana control and have access to local flora and crops. I feel like because this area, from what we can tell, has yet to become super mechanical or advanced, the flora has a lot more of an ability to add to someone's mana and help advance it, as we can tell. And a good example of this is when they're in the boat, going to train. They drink orange juice, and it's either bitter or sweet depending on one's mana flow. Asta thought it was super bitter. And now we have the spirits. Okay, so I think this is the topic that I had to think about the most, because there are spirits. So here's my solution to the matter. Well, we'll have four spirits in total: water, fire, air, and earth. Water can stay with the Queen of the Heart Kingdom, as I like their dynamic. Fire. I'm gonna keep this with Froyolian, as I think the firearm looks cool, but he can still get it from Fauna, but we're going to need to change the battle setting first. Instead of having it happen and the battle go down, instead we're not going to have the battle go down in the Forest of the Witches. We can have it go down in the Diamond Kingdom, as Fauna is originally from the Diamond Kingdom. In the Diamond Kingdom, we'll also get introduced to Mars, and then we're going to have Mars go through intense character development, which makes my Kokoro happy as Mars and Fauna, OTP. Moving on. Air. Yuno's keeping Belle. Note, I did change Belle in my rewriting Yuno video, so please go watch it. I beg. He can keep Belle and get her through the battle with the crooks from the Diamond Kingdom, and no, Mars will not be here because they need to meet him when they go to the Diamond Kingdom. Earth. Okay. So we're going to give the Spade Kingdom the Earth Spirit, because they live in a constant snow world, and I think this Earth Spirit user will help try and control the constant snow, and it will help differentiate the years more other than snow all the time, or more than snow all the time. What I meant by this is that the spirit, the user, understands that the climate is not the best place to live, and so they're going to use their spirit to try and help the people grow crops and stuff. Okay, so the goal of the spirits is to be helpful, and are fundamentally older than most magic. I think that the only spirits who would rotate amongst the kingdoms would be fire and air. My explanation is that the water spirit is passed down through the queens of the Heart Kingdom. They also enjoy helping raise the future queens, but also likes the Heart Kingdom and being there, and it's always seeing different queens and how they rule a kingdom. I think Undyne does definitely represent that aspect, and she does have a motherly aspect towards Doropetica, the Queen of the Heart Kingdom. And I kind of would like to see that go places, and I think Undyne would like to stay in the Heart Kingdom. And then the Earth Spirit is willingly choosing to stay in the Spade Kingdom and just like constantly get switched around by different users because it's like they are sentient enough to understand that the Spade Kingdom has trouble to grow crops and export and import things because of all the snow. The way they all help the Magic Knights is by training them. The Spirit users train them, especially the ones with spirits, so like Frigolian and would fall into this category of also getting more attention because they have spirits themselves and they need training. So I'm also going to put this asterisk here. Earth and fire spirits will not be humanoid, as I think that those are the more uncontrolled spirits, whereas Bell and water are more easily controllable. I'm putting that in air quotes here because I don't think that it's emphasized in the best way, and like I understand that to some people that sounds a little bit offensive, but I think that fire as an element is really cool and it needs a strong user. And Earth just needs someone very grounded and willing to look at things from an entire perspective because, Earth. And then, of course, water would be someone who's caring and kind because water also has a big aspect of healing and is used a lot, especially if you look at a lot of things people put in like baths to relax them, like herbs or bath bombs or stuff like that. Water has a very like calming and nurturistic aspect, and then air, of course. It's air. We breathe it. We use it all the time. It's air. I don't think that needs any explanation here. So continuing. So they can, and of course, because the spirit users are going to train them and train with them, it's going to be, and then this doesn't make sense to me, the way I wrote it here, but what I wrote here is that the way they help the Magic Knights is by training them, the spirit users, and then users train them, and then it doesn't make sense to me. I can barely read it because it's so incoherent. But basically, the spirits also learn with their users, and I think that would be a nice touch here. And then, of course, we can get some dope battles with amazing animation, and as a bonus, we don't really need to separate Asta and as they can train together, and I think that'd be wonderful, especially because I feel like especially considering how Asta doesn't have any magic, I think that the spirit users would definitely be, the spirit users in the Spade and Heart Kingdoms would definitely want to help, so again, I think that's also why I personally separated them on the list. I didn't make them back to back because I don't think that would have been the best, and I also wanted a transitional thing. Part 3, romance. We either make them all ace and pretty, or we actually develop the romance. Okay, so Austin, Noelle, and and Melissa. Why? Because it makes sense. Please make it make sense. Now, I have yet to read the manga, because I don't have the energy to go and read 31 volumes after watching all of the anime, and I'm saying 31 volumes as not 31 volumes after the anime, but 31 volumes encompassing everything, including the anime. So mentally, I really don't want to have to go back and read all my struggle again. Gosh, that sounds tedious. So, here's what we're gonna do. Mimossa's gonna have a crush on right off the bat, because as my friend puts it, serious baby face and eyes like honey. It's very natural why Mimosa would fall for him. So she would joke flirt, and would like legit flirt back because he's an idiot. And Austin and Noelle's dynamic would go from an oblivious man and tsundere girl to equals, who would each see each other as for real people, and thus allowing the romance to grow and feel more natural. A natural film alchemist, Winry and Ed in a way, considering how Winry and Ed were kind of on, like, they didn't fall into the dynamic, but it definitely was a romance that kind of developed over time, and I liked that. This would all culminate at the end after their final battle against the devil. This would be like the last episode, right? The last 10 minutes, because I need the feels. I need my Kokoro to be sobbing. Okay, everything is gonna be deja vu. I'm sorry, I had to do that. So basically, as they were fighting against the devil, Asta and realized that they love Mimosa and Noelle respectively. Again, I explained earlier about Asta and Noelle, and then and Mimosa, as the two girls have always been by their side and have supported them in a natural and honestly amazing way, even if they at first thought it was platonic. So they both run to find them after their intense battle, and they find them in the infirmary along with the other Magic Knights getting healed and whatnot, and they run up to them and hug them dearly, only to say, "I love you." only for the girls to look at each other and then back up at them, only for the girls to jump up to kiss them, and it's beautiful, and my Coke girl is destroyed, and then we move on. We're moving on. We're rolling. Part 4. Final battle. Simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it as it is. But add the scene where Yuno and Asta realize their love for Mimosa and Noelle, but most importantly, have them deal the final blow, not Captain Yami. As dope as it is, it would complete Asta and Yuno's arcs, and it would make them feel like they completed their goals at the beginning of the whole show and the whole, like, interlocking arc. It would also be, like, awesome payoff for the 100+ episodes that the anime could be. Part 5, Season Division. Okay, I also briefly do talk about the season links and stuff, and how many episodes I would imagine would be in this anime if stuff like this happened. Alright, so each kingdom, the other kingdom get their own respective season. Around 25 episodes each, give or take 2 episodes. So it's around 100 episodes in the first season. We will establish things and also establish the first links and the first jumping off points of the bigger overlooking story, and that can be around 25 episodes. So 125 episodes, and the final season can be around 20 to 35 episodes. So that's around 160 episodes in total. That is not too bad considering Inuyasha's around 190 episodes in total. We also need more cool-off episodes between battles, because in the anime they just throw us into battle after battle with like little to no cool-off time, and that can be so disorienting after going through a whole arc only to just get slapped in the face with another one. So, including that, we could have maybe 200 episodes. So that's around 40-ish filler episodes. Not too bad at all things considering. So I think that would be like the best season division in my opinion, because like everything's divided and everything makes sense and we're not rushing into things. And also as a bonus, like I said earlier, we won't have to separate Asta and Yuno as often. The only times the 3-episode structure would come into play would be, let's say, the first season, we're watching them all like adapt to it. But we're not gonna pull a Young Justice in the sense that it just flashes between them at different times, because I don't need that. Also, when I say filler episodes, I don't mean recap episodes. I don't need that, and I don't want that. Conclusion. I'm tired. It's exhausting to reread something and make sure I can cover all my points. Like, gosh, I talk a lot, all things considering. However, I'm also considering doing this with Yashahime because I like Yashahime and I have a lot of fondness for Inuyasha. So for Yashahime to be bad makes me cry. Tragically, I know. I might do that at some point. But also, quick announcement here. Soda Light, my comic, is now up on Webtoon Canvas for you to read. I currently have part 1 of the prologue so far. I don't really have anything else. If you've been subscribed since around the time I started doing art videos around like a year ago, I think you might know them. I also think I have a playlist of Meet the OCs that you can still find under the playlists tab. But Soda Light is a thing now. I have more chapters in the works. I just need time to figure out because my computer's being a butt and refuses to like open stuff for me and like actually export things correctly. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing evening. Bye bye.